Major moves, we going all in, like we got nothing to lose. We making moves, we making major moves, we making moves, we making major moves, we making moves.
Welcome back to my channel. I want to thank you guys for actively deciding to spend time with me. I'm just a guy in a Spider-Man mask, a cool one I might add. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just providing information and content already on the internet, and I just read it and present it to you guys in a way that may reach you or may not reach you. Whatever the reason is you found my page, I'm grateful you're here, and thank you for spending time with me. Let's get into this. All right, I want to give a shout out to start this video to ISO the GOAT for posting this link right here, these images here, showing a connection with Hedera and Ripple. And then I'm going down further to Future Whales of America. I want to thank you for posting this link here. Today, what I want to do is dive into this with you guys, spend some time just learning about this. And I've said it before, I literally am just a guy in a Spider-Man mask reading about this stuff and hoping that people enjoy and like my content, and will keep coming back to hear what else there is in the cryptocurrency realm. All I want to do is just teach. And by teaching, it's just reading. I just want to read and enjoy myself and help other people who have a difficult time with this stuff here. So this is the page here, Decoding CBDC, Practical Guide to a CBDC Design and Implementation, presented by a Currency Research and Lipis Advisors. Report series partners, Ripple, Hedera, and Prosperous. I don't need to go into the description. Not really that important. We know who Ripple is. This just talks about who Ripple is and what they're doing. Same thing for Hedera and Prosperous. You're welcome to go through it. Here's their webpage. Part 2. And just so you're aware, I will do my best to break this up into chapters, I guess. There's only 12 pages, so it should be a short read. It's not too long at all. Like, it's very quick, these pages. Let's get into this now. According to the Atlantic Council CBDC tracker, there are now 105 countries that are exploring central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, around 50 countries that are in an advanced phase of digital currency exploration. As central banks continue to go further in this space, they are increasingly looking for technology partners and vendors that can operationalize their unique design principles and adhere to established best practices for resiliency, performance, interoperability, sustainability, and more. In response to these developments, the number of CBDC technology partners, providers, vendors, and infrastructures in this space has increased. While this has led to greater choice for central banks, it has also made less straightforward to assess and differentiate between all the available options. And the IMF, International Monetary Funds, and others have noted it is even more challenging to do so, as much as the technology is rapidly evolving and remains untested in a real-world environment. Is that true? Is that true? I know it's being tested right now out in Ukraine. I know it's going to be tested out in Canada soon once they roll out the UBI. So, we'll see. Was it tested also during the fire drill that they call COVID? All I can do is ask questions, right? And then speculate. In our last white paper, so there's a white paper floating around by these guys. I'm going to check that out afterwards as well. Might do you guys some well to check it out too. The more you know, the more you grow. We thought critically about the key core technology and design decisions for CBDC and consider some of the important features that central banks should ponder in their CBDC journey. The technology supporting CBDC involves multiple layers, from the core ledger technology at the back end to connectivity gateways at the middle layer, to user onboarding and KYC and funding and withdrawal solutions at the front end. Choosing the right technology stack is key to successful CBDC implementation and is an important building block paving the way for wide-scale adoption. In this paper, we aim to analyze the CBDC vendor landscape and compare several DLT networks, distributed ledger technology, and full-stack solutions now available for use in CBDC pilots and implementation. In doing so, we hope to better inform central banks who must make difficult decisions and design decisions in an ever-fluid market. Now, the reason I'm deciding to read this entire paper is I found for myself that when I read papers like this and white papers, there are some concepts I have a hard time understanding. And just me on my own, I can't grasp some of the words and some of the concepts. But somebody else hearing my voice, not have to read it in their head or read it out loud, and hearing somebody else's voice might conceptualize it differently than I do. I have my ideas, you have your ideas, we're all individuals, so I figure if we can come together and put ideas within the comment section of this video, then hopefully we can come together to an agreement of what this paper is saying here and suggesting. So this quote here comes from the Bank of Canada. This guy, Jeff Stewart, sorry. There's a gap in the conversation between central bank decision makers and tech solution providers. While providers focus on what's possible under optimal conditions, several bankers worry about the risk and adverse consequences. There is also a disparity in the level of the conversation. That's very true. That's very true, because out in the media, regardless of what media we listen to, all we hear is CBDCs are bad, CBDCs are bad. Yet when you read about them, it's a whole different world. It's not what you think. It's not the narrative that we've been hearing. Decision makers think about requirements at a business, policy, and regulatory level, whereas providers describe their functionality at a technical level. The result is that it can be difficult to have the right conversations to match solutions with needs. Defining the CBDC provider landscape. It's helpful. So we're on page 6 already. It's helpful to first define the types of players active in the market for CBDC technology and the specific roles they're taking on, as it can be difficult to understand who is doing what and in which areas. Even with CBDC being so new, there are some players that are more established in the space than others, even most have not been involved in the CBDC implementation. Some of the most experienced include R3, this is a partner with Ripple, and XDC, whose Corda network has been involved in several successful CBDC pilots and POCs, proof of concepts, globally, as well as BIT, they're new to me, which has been the primary technology partner and solutions provider to live CBDC implementation. I will dive into them after this for sure. Ripple is currently engaged globally with more than a dozen central banks. A dozen? Really? That's the number you use? A dozen? Come on. They're hundreds plus. Ripple's with hundreds plus. With pilots underway in Palau, Bhutan. Looking at the landscape historically, holistically, the types of market players tend to fall into 4 groups summarized below. Regardless of their specific role, CBDC partners and providers should be familiar with the entire payments value chain to be able to best support implementation. It's all about the implementation, how they roll this stuff out. Transaction network, end-to-end solution providers, technology providers, and what's the 4th one? Is that no? 1, 2, 3, only 4? Okay, only 3. This refers to the specific infrastructure on network that is used for the core CBDC ledger. Although the core ledger needs not to be DLT based, much of the CBDC exploration globally have involved the use of DLT based networks. Examples include the Algorand network, Ethereum, Hashgraph, Hyperledger, Besu, Fabric, the Hyperledger Fabric, and Aroa, R3's Corda's platform, Ground X's Clayton Prosper Ledger, Ripple CBDC Private Ledger, and the Stellar Network. Cloud providers may also emerge in the space as CBDC infrastructure providers, such as AWS, for example, has designed a reference architecture for central banks based on its existing product line of cloud-supported databases, products, and APIs. End-to-end solution providers, such players offer full-stack infrastructure solution covering all aspects of the central bank technology needs. For example, core ledger, issuance, business application, front-end software, and etc. Some providers have tailored their solutions specifically towards central banks. For example, there's that bit again, and MTech, G plus D, while others work with a broader range of players on digital cash and stablecoins. For example, MTech, Consensus, Prosperous, and Ripple. I wonder who these guys are. I haven't looked into them. I haven't heard about them before either. The landscape for solution providers has become much more competitive over recent years, with an increasing number of players now active in the space, from digital asset networks, enterprise blockchain companies. That's directly from Ripple's webpage. Fintechs, as well as the legacy software and hardware companies. More and more are attempting to attract central banks by offering a whole host of other consultancy services and access to proprietary sandboxes to demonstrate thought leadership and expertise. If you guys are looking for a good sandbox, one of the ones I'm familiar with is called Jack Henry. I know for a fact that the ECH uses them. The clearinghouse is partnered with the Jack Henry company, and they've been using Jack Henry for their sandbox. And Jack Henry is ISO compliant. I'm not sure what blockchain they are using that makes them ISO compliant, but they are ISO compliant. Technology partners. Many central banks have opted to hire vendors acting as third-party consultancy or technology partners responsible for driving the entire development process from a product management perspective, from conception and platform design to testing and go live. Examples include Accenture. To some of the heavies in the game, you've heard of Accenture. You're well familiar with Accenture, which has worked closely with the Swedish Riksbank through its e-krona pilots, and IBM, which supports the central banks of Saudi Arabia and UAE as part of the BIS project AVER. With IBM, so they have what's known as the Hyperledger, Hyperledger Fabric, and that's in collaboration with XLM or Stellar Labs. Such companies do not necessarily offer their technology stack, but rather work closely with the central bank to source the most appropriate technologies and solution. Bringing in this type of vendor can bring in valuable third-party perspectives and project management resources, but can also add greater complexity and cost to implementation efforts. Oh, there's the fourth one, research partners. Another type of partnership model is emerging among some of the advanced economy central banks, namely working with an academic institution or initiative to explore the various technical challenges associated with CBDC issuances. For example, MIT's digital currency. There's a lot coming out of MIT, a lot. Gary Gensler being one of them. And I believe, what's his name? The head of Quant, Gilbert, is it Gilbert? The head of Quant, I believe he came out of MIT, and a few other companies as well, a few other individuals as well that come out of there. I believe the head of AMP also had come out of MIT initiative, has worked with the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston for several years, and has recently formed partnerships with the Bank of Canada and the BOE. There we go. This symbol looks familiar. I recall seeing this before. This is all very interesting. Here's the four sections they were talking about, though, just posted in a graph. Differentiating the current market offerings With a better understanding of who is doing what in the market, we next aim to clarify the differentiate the various offerings. We begin with a comparison of DLT-based technology that can be considered for a CBDC. Comparing DLT-based infrastructure with the CBDC context. There are many different DLT-based infrastructures available for use at present, and it can be difficult for many of them to articulate their key areas of differentiation in the CBDC context. Central banks may prefer working with networks that have already been live for at least several years, or that have been previously used in successful CBDC pilots or implementation, given their proven production readiness as well as demonstrated ability to process tens of millions of transactions and billions of dollars in value. And I understand that the company I work for right now, we're in the process of transitioning from our old software to a new software. And you know what? Let me not go there. Examples of such networks and platforms include the Algorand, Hedera Hashgraph, Hyperledger Besu, Fabric, R3's Quarter Protocol, and Ripple CBDC Private Ledger. Another key area of differentiation are the use cases for which the network is best suited. Indeed, wholesale and retail CBDC typically have drastically different requirements in terms of scalability, resilience, and security. For example, a WCBDC tends to support the existing central corporate banking relationship and enable new efficiencies in those banking relationships. Retail CBDCs must be usable at scale by all citizens. That's you and us at that point now. And here's the study done here by MIT. If you want to click on that link, you can check that out. I'll post this document within the comment section of the video. The following table offers a comparison of how a select group of these different infrastructures compare various characteristics, including the type of infrastructure, access, scalability, and throughput, and their unique selling propositions. As noted, most have not yet been tested in the real-world CBDC scenarios. There you go. Here's XRP here, side chain of a public ledger. Here's the scalability. Look at that. 10,000 TPS. TPS is transaction per second. You have Stellar right there with it as well. Unique selling propositions. Man. All right. Page 8. Comparing full stack CBDC solutions. As CBDC exploration has become more ubiquitous, that's a word that stands out, and you will hear this word a lot. Ubiquitous. You'll hear that in videos by these, I'm not gonna call them elite people, by these individuals from central banks. You'll hear them from Red Compass Media. They're individuals helping to transition the old ISO compliancy into the new ISO compliancy, ISO 20022, and there are other companies as well. And ubiquitous is a word that continuously comes up. There has been a corresponding increased demand for end-to-end solutions that go far beyond providing just an infrastructure layer. A full-stack solution enables central banks to implement CBDC with a complete toolkit for managing CBDC across the entire value chain, whether for retail cases or wholesale cases. So right from beginning to end, they want to have that whole ecosystem within that one company. In addition to the core functionalities relating to issuance and redemptions, a full stack solution provides the modules and application for the monitoring, administration, as well as integration layer to the interoperate with other systems and third-party applications. Many also include modules to support intermediary and end-to-end and end user access. A key consideration for central banks is how modular and flexible the stack is. Any end-to-end solution should be flexible enough to implement different designs, choices, and to evolve as these choices change over time in accordance with the stage roadmap or implementation strategy. In the following table, we analyze the different solutions compared to one other based on the types of features and functionalities offered. Looking across these solutions, several common features stand out. For one, all the solution providers claim interoperability with existing payment system and most claim interoperability with ISO 20022 based payment system. Other common features include mobile wallet support, access to testing environment, and support for programmability payments. So a lot of these providers are offering similar products, but what makes them stand out is the question. And this source came from Prosperous. In terms of differences, here we go. That's what we just asked now. Not all solution providers offer the flexibility to integrate with different infrastructures or types of infrastructures. BIT and MTech claim to be able to integrate with any centralized ledger or blockchain network, a centralized ledger, huh? For example, while other providers like Prosperous and Ripple leverage their own infrastructure layer. Moreover, although most providers indicate that they provide some level of support for offline technology, that's Ripple right there. They provide the offline technology. If you didn't know that, that's XPOP. I spoke to this in one of my other videos with regard to Russia wanting an offline CBDC in regards to the ruble. There's a wide range of capabilities in this area, ranging from hardware-based solution, allowing for consecutive offline payments, to DLT-based solutions that are trying to leverage non-internet-based servers. A similar point can be made with respect to the type of programmable payments that are supported. For example, smart contracts, code chains, programming languages used, etc. Further considerations for sourcing CBDC technology stack. Outside of choosing the right technology partners and solutions, there are several other broader considerations that central banks should add to their evaluation checklist. These include how to choose a single provider or multiple providers, that's where the interoperability comes in, build a unique, bespoke solution, or choosing pre-packaged solution that can be customized. Choose an on-premise solution or look for a managed service for operation. I don't know how well this one's going to work, a managed solution. I'm sure they want the central bank or the bank itself may want the, no, I could be incorrect, because Bank of Canada, the BOC, has partnered with Payments Canada, and Payments Canada has partnered with leveraging Volante's software, actually, which is the software they're going to be using, which is the Lynx software. And I believe FedNow Services as well is partnered with Volante Technologies as well. So that would be right here. Choose an on-premise solution or look for a management source for operation. So Volante would be the managing source for that CBDC, and that's where Canada and this FedNow service will be using their for their provider, Volante. Leverage open source code or proprietary software. And here's the links if you want to check those out as well. For one, central banks must consider whether to work with a single provider of a package solution or to leverage internal development sources or work with multiple different providers as needed. Working with multiple providers vendors may be preferable for larger central banks who seek greater control of the development process and who have a greater ability of leveraging internal sources. Canada and China and USA. It's interesting they put them all together. Canada and China and USA. A document that came out, which I posted on my Twitter page, you can check it out, and it's called China and their new governance or something along those lines. It involves Canada. Something will happen to Canada, I'm not sure what, but there's police services being set up within Canada and the US, which have to do with Chinese police services. For smaller central banks, however, working with a single provider may be preferable, as these institutions often have fewer in-house expertise and internal resources to manage multiple vendor relationships. A second consideration is whether it is beneficial to bring in or partner with a third-party consultancy that can drive the entire development process from conception and platform design to testing and go live. As noted, such companies do not necessarily offer their own technology stack, but rather work closely with the central bank to source the most appropriate technologies and solutions. They may provide valuable third-party perspectives on technology, but they can also add to the cost of complexity of the CBDC project. An additional consideration of central banks involves the type of solution or solutions that can be sourced. There exists a spectrum of solution on the market today, from completely custom built from scratch to fully production and turnkey. Turnkey means like you walk in ready, like you're purchasing real estate and it's walk in ready to start living in. Whether to choose a turnkey solution or one that is custom built will depend on time to market consideration as well as cost. A final consideration is whether the vendor can offer a managed service for operation. Full business process outsourcing for national payment infrastructure has been a popular model for some time in both advanced and emerging markets. Notable examples include Vocalinks. I've heard them before. They work with Visa, that's where it is. They work with Visa and Visa's partner with Ripple, and this is out in Scotland or Ireland. Vocalink, that's who they are. Vocalink's operation of faster payments in the UK, there it is, and Worldline's operations of the real-time payment system in Aruba, a managed service for CBDC infrastructure and solutions, could potentially be an attractive proposition for smaller central banks with a more limited ability to make the technical and operational investment required on premises. So conclusion, we're at the end here. In this paper, we took a detailed look at the provider landscape for CBDC infrastructure and solutions, offering insight for central banks as they begin the process of outsourcing CBDC technologies and solutions. That said, the space is rapidly evolving, and our analysis represents only a snapshot of the feature and functionalities of the available network and solutions. The limitations of trade-offs of using a particular network or a solution that exists today may only be fleeting. Central banks must therefore be vigilant in terms of who is active in the market, how solutions are evolving, and which vendor best meets their need. I want to thank you guys for spending time with me today and reading through this white paper here put out by Hedera and Ripple, and for the studies in terms of looking at CBDCs. Until the next time, take it easy and Happy New Year.
We going all in, like we got nothing to lose. We making moves, we making major moves, we making moves.